Awesome. All right. Let us dive in. Thank you all for joining today. We're excited to walk you through the thoughts on how do you get an app like Starbucks if you don't have Starbucks money, right? Starbucks, great app. Everybody knows it, but what makes it great? And how could you get somewhere close to that with your digital products is what we're covering today. In terms of the speakers, I'm Zack. I'm a principal here at Blue Label Labs and the VP of Client Solutions. And I'm joined here with Ashkan Iskandari, who is part of my team on the Client Solutions team here at Blue Label. Quick overview of who we are. At Blue Label Labs, we are a digital product strategy, design, and development agency based in New York, but with offices in Seattle and San Francisco. You can see some of these fancy logos here in the upper right-hand panel. Most relevant to everybody here today is likely the Kung Fu Tea logo and the Sir Coffee logo, two of our most recent restaurant and quick service restaurant, in particular, apps that we have built for those two providers. And we'll get into a little more later in the presentation what exactly we did for those two restaurants. To cover off, what are we? We work with ambitious brands and founders to figure out what is needed for their business. What do they need to do? How do they change to meet the times and to meet their users' needs? And we do that through strategic business consulting, user-centric design, so very much user testing driven, and then finally making sure we've got great and experienced engineering. So what are we gonna cover today? Today, we're gonna cover off on the evolution of the Starbucks app. Where did it come from? Where is it now? And what can we learn from that? In terms of the next item, we're gonna cover off on performance and numbers. So what is making the Starbucks app so great? How can we make sure that your apps could potentially reach some of these incredible performance facts and figures that Starbucks app does? And we'll cover down on the product itself. We'll take a look, deep dive into the Starbucks app. What are those features that users are loving and using and is relating back to that incredible performance that Starbucks has? Fourth, we'll cover down on the how-to. How do you potentially have an app that's similar in feel, similar in feature set, that delivers some of the same value that the Starbucks app does? We'll cover down on a couple of case studies and then wrap up with some Q&A at the end of our 45 minutes together. In terms of the evolution of the Starbucks app, to give you a quick summary of how it's evolved. So the little iPhone there in the far left, and that is meant to indicate when the iPhone launched, which was 2007. And so shortly thereafter, Starbucks was an early mover in creating an app for that ecosystem, and even more innovative for the time, the idea of mobile payments. Actually building mobile payments into an app was new and novel coming in 2009. Seems like table stakes today because it is, but back then, pretty impressive stuff. Skip ahead to 2011, the app itself launched nationwide, and it had a fairly robust set of reward systems and even the ability to send e-gifts and codes to other users. I threw this 2013 in here. I don't know if you remember, everybody in the restaurant industry, 2013 was dominated. It was the year of the pretzel. Everything was about pretzel. You had pretzel, pizza crust, pretzel, everything. So that was 2013. 2015 came the idea of mobile ordering and the ability to pay on the app or within the app, not necessarily at the register in the store in 2015. 2019 is where they really solidified their rewards program. And a lot of what you saw in 2019 exists today. Clearly some advancements since then, but the meat of the rewards program launched 2019. So moving to a quick quote from Adam Brotman, Starbucks Chief Digital Officer. Bringing mobile order and pay to our customers is about meeting their needs of convenience and customization at any time of the day. So I think that's a theme you're going to see throughout this presentation, the topics of convenience, the topics of customization, and how that is integrated into their digital product. Let's take a quick look at that timeline again. Where did this app come from? This is the original. This is 2009. Grainy, pixelated. That's what the iPhone was. And this shows you that pretty novel payment functionality that they had very early days back in 2009. That's 2009. 2011 solidified the app, really ready for the masses, the ability to order, the ability to find locations, building a lot of new features into the app in 2011. 2015, like I said, here's where they really solidified their rewards program. You can see a number of the elements here are still in the app today, evolved and made better, but this is the basis for their loyalty program. And here we are today, modern day masterpiece. Incredible set of functionality. We're going to deep dive into all of it in just a little bit here. And Ash will take us through that in a few minutes. Let's look at the numbers. Like, why do we care? What is it about the Starbucks app that we should care about, and why? Well, the numbers don't lie. 71% of users visit a store at least once. App users, right? If they have the app, they're visiting the store at least once. That's incredible. It's an incredible stat. 26% of transactions in the US were app-based. This is last year. Really high number. 22.9 million active rewards members in Q2 of 2021. That's a pretty large portion of even the United States if you think about what 23 million represents. 10%, if I'm doing my math right. An enormous number to be a part of your loyalty program. So they're clearly doing something right there. And then they are the second most used mobile payment app after Apple Pay, right? We're talking the actual native payment platform of iOS. They are just number 2 to that in the country. So incredible usage of the app, incredible success of the app and their loyalty program. And in a few minutes, we'll show you why. This is impressive. Active Starbucks reward members have increased by 18% year over year, 23 million members by Q2 2021. This is 52% of sales in the US was through the mobile app and via these reward members in the second quarter of this year. These stats here are not specific to Starbucks. They're meant to indicate some studies around loyalty that we've put here to illustrate how important some of these features and functionality are. 79% agree that they are more loyal to brands that are using personalization. We'll see that theme of personalization throughout this presentation. 79% feel they're loyal to brands offering exclusive benefits. This concept of exclusivity, the idea of being a member of something and getting a benefit from that is incredibly important to users. 78% become loyal to brands with individually recognized and rewarded. So the purpose there, it's again about personalization, and it's again the concept of membership. 77% are motivated to join loyalty programs when benefits are clear. Users are essentially not patient when it comes to understanding what is your rewards program and how do I redeem those benefits. They don't like to be lied to. They don't like to feel misled. It's have to be incredibly straightforward, and Starbucks has nailed that in a number of ways that we'll go over. And lastly, 73% are more likely to engage with brands offering loyalty programs. Generally a summary of the prior stats here. It's all about personalization, rewards and benefits, and making sure those are clear and exclusive to your members. With that, I'll turn it over to Ash, who will walk you through the Starbucks app and what we're seeing and why it is doing so very well in the market. Let me stop my share and let Ash share his screen.
Awesome, thanks, Zach. Perfect, let's go ahead and dive in. And we'll go ahead and get started here. First things first is the home screen, the landing page of Wheel. What we did is we actually just deleted my account and created a brand new one, because even with me having done zero activity on this account, you can still see there's so much to do, so much to see. And we'll do a screen share of the actual app itself. But first, we just want to run through a few quick items here. In terms of the home screen, you can see that they've clearly laid out what you can do in terms of rewards. It's clear to tell that you can do a vertical scroll as well. So there's obviously more for you to see. And then they've got that very clear bottom nav bar right there. It obviously tells you if you want to order, if you want to pay, if you want to buy a gift card. Very easy to understand what's going on. It's not clunky, it's not confusing, and it's not overwhelming. Ordering made easy. Obviously, people like getting their coffee a certain way, and Starbucks has really nailed down this customization process. When we do the screen share, we'll do a little bit of a scroll down so you can see what else is underneath this particular view, but they make it almost not too easy. They make it as easy as it could possibly be in terms of figuring out how you want your drink to be set up. And then obviously, if you want to even maybe set it back up to the original, we'll go back to that flow as well. Sometimes maybe you push something that you didn't want to push. Is it difficult? Is it complicated to get it back to the original settings? You can easily do that as well. In terms of loyalty, I can't tell you how many times I'll download an app that belongs to a QSR or a fast casual, and you go to the rewards and loyalty tab, and there's nothing for you to see. And maybe it'll just say every X amount of dollars you spend, you get Y, and that's it. Here, I haven't done anything on this Starbucks app account, and you can see that it clearly lays out what you can do. And I think this is probably one of the most important aspects of the rewards program. Everything here is attainable, right? So it's telling you that you can quickly get something for free. You can quickly get rewarded. You can quickly be given a prize for your activity within the app. And because it's so attainable, obviously, it incentivizes and entices users to jump right in. Put it on the tab. Zach talked about this earlier. They've made the payment flow so easy, and obviously they reward you for doing that as well. And they very clearly tell you how you'll be rewarded. No gimmicks, no fine print that you have to make sure you read through or anything like that. Very well laid out. And the gift card flow. This is something that they've perfected over the years. Typically speaking, when you buy a gift card for someone, it's very standard, very vanilla. In this case, they've got so many different designs for you to choose. They can be festive, they can be seasonal, and it just sort of adds a little bit of a more fun, a more unique approach and touch, personal touch, if you will, to what some might think is a very, at this point, antiquated concept of giving someone a gift card. They've put their own touch on it, and it's much, much more personable at this stage. And we'll talk about that as well during the screen share. And then the final piece to the puzzle for them is what they call Deep Brew, which is their essentially AI system. It's what allows them to determine when they can recommend certain things to you based off of the weather, based off the time of day, based off of what inventory is in the specific location, what's selling the hottest, what's trending right now, or maybe even what you've been purchasing in the past, or on the flip side of that, what you have not been purchasing in the past. They're able to use all of these data sets to essentially help guide you down a path that they know will lead to a higher ticket price. And we'll go ahead and do a quick little demo here as well. So give us just 1 second. Perfect. All right, so here's that home screen that we were just talking about. As you can see, if you click on the details button, you'll see that there's quite a few different rewards for you to easily understand how they work. And then obviously adding your birthday gets another reward. And this is all from that main reward screen. I haven't done anything on this app account, right? So just if you do have an app right now for your restaurant, go to your reward screen and see what it's like for a user who has not done anything on the app whatsoever. So there's quite a lot here for me to see, for me to interact with. And then if we close out of this, you can scroll down and you can see you can order ahead very quickly. Obviously, they've got a few announcements, a few promotions, suggesting a few new items to me. And then even in this case, right, so this Alaska Airlines, if we want to click on that, it'll quickly open up a web browser within the app. And then that done button on the top left corner, that being in green is actually a nice touch. It's clearly telling the user we can get out of that and go right back into the app. It's not confusing anyone. Very easy to understand user interface. And we can keep scrolling down here, and there's obviously a lot to see. Even the Spotify integration is a nice touch as well. People love the music that's played in Starbucks locations. And going all the way to the top, you can see that there's the inbox, you've got your stores, and then this button here is for your order history. And then clicking here will take you to your account. Now, from here, if we want to go to scan, this will obviously increase the brightness, just like when you're trying to pull up your boarding pass at the airport or anything like that, it's important for this to be bright so it can scan properly. Go back to the home screen, it'll change the brightness accordingly. And if you go to the order, right, first thing it does, it asks you what store you want. And it's defaulted to this location here, because that's the closest for me. So I'll go ahead and click on order here. But before we do that, there's a few other tabs. So previous, this would show other locations I've ordered from, and then favorites, I can easily favorite a location. So if we want to go ahead and click on order, actually, let me go back to that for a second, because in terms of the locations, there's another item that I really like, and that's the filter. So if you click on filter here, you're able to choose if you're looking for a specific type of location. Very easy to do. And again, if you click on that X in the top left corner, you're exactly back to where you were. So let's go back and we'll go ahead and start an order process. And we'll go ahead and look at the menu here. You've got the main menu, and then you've got the featured items. We'll go ahead and start with, why not, this peppermint mocha. And these are vertical and horizontal scrolls as well. Very nicely done images. And we'll go ahead and click on the peppermint mocha. And it's defaulted to the grande size, and it'll let you know what's included. Very easy to understand drop-down menus. You cannot confuse the way this customization works. And clicking here will allow you to customize it further. And if you click on something that you don't like, you're able to, at the bottom there, let's say do adjust something here and go from cinnamon powder to light cinnamon powder. I can easily say reset to standard recipe instead of making the user go all the way back and they get confused in terms of what they were doing. And then another important touch here is that back button in the top left corner, which is a very, very important. A lot of times when a user's trying to add an item to their order from any type of restaurant app, if they maybe push the wrong button or they're not sure what they want to do, they have to go all the way to the very beginning of the process and pick the new store, pick the brand new location, maybe in some cases even enable location settings again. So being able to push that back button takes me exactly where I was prior. And if you notice in the top left corner, you've got the heart, which means you can obviously favorite this item and access it quickly in the future. And then you've got that share icon in case you want to send this to someone in your network. And then there's that gift functionality here, a vertical scroll. They've got a few that they're suggesting in terms of featured gift cards. And again, festive, seasonal, you name it. And then obviously you can keep going depending on the occasion. Birthday, love, workplace, community, you name it. And again, for me, the home screen is very, very important. Clicking on this down button here for the rewards lets you know what's going on and how easy it is to get rewarded for your activity within the app. So go ahead and start the screen share again here for a second. Perfect. This is a quote from Roz Brewer, the COO at Starbucks. It's helping us actually speak to the customer and help them decide, but also it's improving what we could see in terms of expanding tickets and being suggestive about what a customer might be interested in. So what the people are saying, we had a lot of reviews to go through in terms of people raving about the app, but Zach mentioned earlier, if you're making your customer's life easier, they're going to want to come back to the app. They're going to want to interact with your brand more. Easy to navigate, very convenient to use, never any problems. And this is the only way I order my items from Starbucks. Nothing beats walking in and picking up your order that was placed through the app. You collect points for every dollar you spend, 5 stars for great app and great service. This is one of my favorites. I can't believe I ever lived without this app. You know, this is someone that if they interact with a friend or a family member that's ordering their Starbucks the traditional way, they're going to say, why don't you have the app? You need to download the app immediately. So how can you follow their formula, right? So the title for the slide deck and for the presentation was really, how can you have a Starbucks quality app without spending Starbucks money, right? And let's be realistic, Starbucks has thousands upon thousands of locations, so much revenue. They've invested a fortune into their app, but how can you follow their formula without necessarily having the same budget as they do? So there's 5 key pieces to the puzzle here. Your app needs to be easy on the eye, clean, quick to grasp user interface. You don't want the users to get confused in terms of how to go back, how to adjust the order once they've started the order, or how to start completely from the beginning, how to modify or customize an order. You want to make sure that it's very easy to understand for the user. Feeling loved, obviously personalized recommendations and gestures, right? If a user's near one of your locations, let them know. If a user's X points away, or maybe they need to do one more thing within the app and they'll get rewarded, let them know, right? They appreciate this type of personalization. No lines, no hassle. If your app is making their life more complicated, if your app is the reason they were late to work, or if your app is the reason the kids couldn't make it to soccer practice, I can assure you that's going to leave a very negative experience on that user's mindset. Who needs a server, right? You want it to be fast and enjoyable when it comes to that ordering process. And that's why we went through that customization flow. If you've got a QSR or fast casual, any type of restaurant that's got customization involved, you want to make sure it's easy for the user to adjust the item from that menu to their liking. Don't make them have to push a million different buttons. Make it easy for them. And then obviously free food, a loyalty rewards program that never stops giving. You want to make sure that the different prizes, the different rewards that you're offering are attainable, and you want to continue to be flexible about how you're offering rewards. If it's very vanilla in the sense that you just have to keep spending and you'll eventually get this, that's very played out at this point. So Starbucks has done a really good job of enhancing the rewards program over time so that it's more flexible, and it's almost like, oh, that's a different touch. Oh, I like the way they've approached that. And it sort of keeps things fresh. It keeps people coming back to see what else they can do within the app to get rewarded. The typical evolution of restaurant apps, we've all seen this type of depiction in terms of a bicycle or a skateboard, and then a motorcycle, and then a car. A lot of restaurants would start with something off the shelf, which is certainly affordable, and it'll get you to where you want to go, but you're incredibly restricted in terms of how your customers can interact with your brand. You're not able to own that ordering experience, and you certainly can't lay out the user interface the way that you'd like, right? If you'd like a certain button to look a certain way or be placed in a certain area, you don't have as much control over that, or in some cases, no control whatsoever. And in turn would negatively impact the effect that customers would have, the experience that customers would have when interacting with your brand. The hybrid approach is something that's becoming more and more popular as more restaurants want to replicate what Starbucks has done. Whether we like it or not, users nowadays are interacting with apps like Starbucks and Uber Eats and DoorDash on a regular basis, and they've grown accustomed to how well these apps are built. And when they're interacting with a more what shall we say, a more vanilla type of app, a more off-the-shelf or one-size-fits-all type of app, they don't have a lot of tolerance for that. So they'll quickly become flustered and confused and fed up with how limited that app is. But with a hybrid approach, you're able to leverage existing reliable back-end technology from off-the-shelf loyalty service provider companies, but still control and own that front-end experience. So if you want to add your own animations, if you want to change the way that customization works for a salad or for a burrito, you're able to do that. And then going full custom, obviously this means you're doing everything in-house, and this is what you'll see in the Dunkin' or the Starbucks or the Chipotle app. From front to back, they control the entire narrative and that entire ordering experience. Every aspect of the app has been brought in-house, so they can really determine everything that the app does. They're not being guided in a certain way or limited in a certain aspect based off of other kinds of technology. Understandably so, going full custom does have its higher costs associated with it, which is why the hybrid route is becoming more and more popular. And we've got a few examples for those three that we want to
just jump in here for a quick second? Ash, you go back to that slide. I just wanted to cover on a couple quick things here. The concept of the bicycle, motorcycle, and car is purposeful here in that they're all functional, right? They're all a functional vehicle in this case, just like these are all functional apps. It just happens to be that they have fewer features, right? The bicycle doesn't have an engine, and the motorcycle doesn't have 4 seats. So the idea of it being evolution means it needs to be functional and meet the needs of your users where they are. And so that could very well be for some restaurants or many restaurants when they're starting off and building an app from nothing, from no app. They often will choose the off-the-shelf path. Perfectly fine path to go. The idea, like Ash said, working with those existing loyalty providers out in the market, like a Punch, a Patronix, a Level Up, right? These are the off-the-shelf providers. You get an app, they're going to slap your logo on it, some colors, you get a few features and functionality, but it is a basic app. It does only what they are allowing you to do with that white labeled app. The hybrid approach, as Ash mentioned, is the idea of you're building on top of that loyalty platform. You still get to rely on their back end for some of the loyalty functionality, things like payments. You get a lot from that back end, but what you get to add to it is a bit more of a customization on the front end. It means you build some new custom features, functionality, new look and feel on top of that loyalty provider's platform. And then of course, full custom, a little more straightforward. It's the idea of building something from the ground up, no reliance on one of those loyalty providers like a Level Up or a Punch or a Paytronics, but building it yourself. Those are the three, and Ash will give you a couple looks at these three flavors of apps in the next couple slides.
Thank you, Zach. And we do have those examples right here. First one is Just Salad. Taking a look at the home screen, it's very easy to tell there's no vertical scroll whatsoever. They're not suggesting any promos or offers to you. Very static homepage. And you'll see those three tiny circles there in the middle. That's indicating there's a horizontal scroll, but those are just photos. In terms of the middle slide here, you'll see that there's limited payment options. You're not able to pay with PayPal or with Apple Pay or anything like that. You can just add in your credit card and that's it. And then on the right, this is your order checkout or review order screen, arguably one of the most important screens for any food and drink category app. This is where you want to be suggesting more items to the user. And this is also where you want to make it very easy for the user to understand if they want to edit their order or maybe even add more items to the order, how can they do that? And that's not really shown here. So the navigation is critical. And then another item as well, if you look in the top right corner of that third screen, you'll see the X button. That would take the user back to the home screen. There's no back button to take them quickly back to the menu. And these are those things that frustrate users. They don't want to have to start the process all over again. Another example we have here is Hybrid, right? So this is Sweetgreen. Their app is very, very popular, and they're building on top of their loyalty service provider's existing technology. So the first thing you see there is a personalized home screen. And then in the middle, you've got the flagging of dietary restrictions. One of the beauties of steering away from using an off-the-shelf, one-size-fits-all kind of app is, like we said earlier, you're able to add more customization to it. And one of the big components of ordering at Sweetgreen is getting things done exactly the way that you like. So when you're ordering on their app, you've got some fantastic images that show you every single topping, every single ingredient for your salad, but also they want users to make sure that they get the same experience through the app that they would get in a physical location. That's critical, right? So here you've got the dietary restrictions. Now, a lot of apps would offer this feature, but all that's doing is you're essentially telling the app, I don't want to eat anything with soy in it. And the functionality kind of ends there. It's very lackluster. In Sweetgreen's case, if you tell the app that you don't want any nuts, it will very clearly indicate to you which items in their menu, which salads include nuts. And then it'll also let you know if you accidentally click on that, why you might not want to order this item or put that into your salad, because again, it's against your dietary restrictions. And then in the far right, you can see they've got a horizontal scroll for suggested add-ons. At the bottom, that's critical, clear navigation. So you could easily go back to the menu as opposed to just closing out and having to start the entire process all over again. And then underneath my item there, which is the hot honey chicken, love that. You can easily remove it from the menu or push the modified button to adjust or edit / customize the order. And last would be a custom example, another modern day masterpiece, if you will, from Chick-fil-A. Very well laid out navigation. You've got that bottom control. And if you go back to the two previous slides, you don't have that same bottom nav bar, but you'll see that in Chick-fil-A. You've got the personalized home screen, very easy customization options and directions. You can see an X next to the tomato, to the lettuce. It lets you know that next choose a side. So you're really going through the entire process of putting together your order. After you choose a side, it's going to ask you to choose a drink. And then in the top left corner of this customize your entree screen in the middle, you'll see the X button, which would obviously take you to the previous screen. Or the previous card. That's the way they've designed their app. And then obviously on the far right, you're able to favorite an entire order. If you've got one order that just works for you each time, you can favorite that order. That's a nice touch. You've got that horizontal scroll for suggested add-ons. And again, clear navigation through the app. You can easily add more items or you can continue to the checkout. and some of our case studies. So here, I'll go ahead and stop the share here and pass it over to Zach.
Perfect. I'll start the share. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Keynote. All right. So the play. I wanted to show you a couple of examples, again, of talking about this evolution from an off-the-shelf to a hybrid app, which again is really what we're saying here today is the way to think about how you can move your way towards building a Starbucks-like app. It is an evolution. The product should grow with you. The complexity of the product will grow as you grow. As your users are demanding more and more functionality, you will find, if you started off the path of going with a white label provider like a Punch or a Level Up, you will eventually find at some point in your growth that it is no longer meeting the need, that you want more custom functionality, that your users are demanding certain things of your product. And that's when this conversation about moving to a hybrid approach, where you still have some backend functionality resident and living within the Punch, Paytronics, Level Up ecosystem, but the front end becomes very custom. The experience your users have becomes entirely your own, where you can tell your own story, deliver your own features the way you want to deliver them. So to bring that home for you guys, Kung Fu Tea came to us having worked with Level Up for a number of years and grown with them. You know, Level Up started as a few locations in New York and have grown now to over 250 locations across the country. And Level Up satisfied their need for a number of years. It worked perfectly well for them to have a very basic app that delivered basic functionality. But as their users have become more demanding, as the competition in the bubble tea space has increased, in all honesty, they've realized the need for something more custom. And in this case, we've worked the hybrid approach with them to build this set of functionality. So you can see the before picture here. That was the Level Up powered app on the left-hand side. Very basic functionality, very basic UI. The only real customization they could have was that dragon banner there at the top was just about all they could do in terms of making that custom to their audience by throwing a couple of banner images there at the top. On the right-hand side is what's currently under development for Kung Fu Tea here at Blue Label Labs, is a set of functionality and features that puts first and foremost that idea of a loyalty program up at the top. The concept of earning bubbles in the case of Kung Fu Tea. They've adopted that concept, the star concept that Starbucks used. We've helped them to implement a similar flavor to that, but of course in the bubble tea world, which in this case is bubbles. So the idea of clearly indicating where you are against your rewards progress. The idea of very quickly, if you think about hierarchy information, right? When we were designing an app, it's all about hierarchy of information. What do we want to see first and foremost? What do you want to show the most? What comes next? Well, after the loyalty program, which we know is absolutely the most important thing we need to be presenting to users, the next thing we need to be able to show is a quick reorder. Loyal customers want often the same thing they ordered before. Why not give them what they want? Let's put that first and foremost up near the top so that a user can easily, quickly reorder their favorite drink. And then offers. These are custom, right? These are custom offers based on what the user has ordered in the past. It's based on their location. It has that intelligence to know what you should deliver to that user when. And there's the concept of giveaways as well. Another concept of rewards, and one that we think is not used enough in the reward space, is the concept of surprise and delight. As much as predictability is a good thing to be able to tell users, where are you in your evolution to earning a next reward, there is the concept of surprise and delight, the idea of contests, the idea of variable rewards delivered to users based on different activity. In this particular case, the giveaway we're depicting here is one to win free AirPods and boba. Excuse me. The idea of variable reward is one that users find compelling. They're not sure what they're going to get, but they know they're going to get something, and that can be a very effective loyalty type program. So in terms of this evolution for Kung Fu Tea, again, they worked with Level Up on their white labeled app that's on the left for a few years. They evolved out of that and realized that their users were demanding something much more sophisticated. And in order to compete in the market, they decided to start to build something hybrid, still based on the back end of Level Up's technology, but with a very custom front end that delivers the features their users want and need. That is an example of an off-the-shelf to hybrid migration that we've helped with. The other I'll share here is Sir Coffee. And Sir Coffee is a bit of an anomaly. This is an example of a restaurant, in this case, a coffee chain, that jumped the shark, shall we say. They didn't have an off-the-shelf app to begin with. They also didn't want a hybrid app. They wanted to be mobile from the start. So that is a rarity, and it is a little different, but it for them was a differentiator and has helped them grow their locations exponentially in the last year by being a mobile first chain. There actually isn't a way for you to order a coffee at a Cirque location from a register or from a cashier. They don't have them. Their baristas are busy making drinks, interacting with customers. It allows them to have the kinds of customer experience they want to deliver to their customers, and takes money out of the equation to an extent. And so they found that their customers are more loyal. They found that their baristas can actually have a better, deeper relationship with their customers because, well, you're doing them something they want. You're giving them their coffee, you're giving them their favorite drink, but you never have to take their money. There's something psychological about this concept of being able to deliver the reward without necessarily having to also administer the pain of the price tag. And they've reaped the benefit of that by building a custom app from scratch. So you'll see a lot of elements here that you saw in the Starbucks app. The idea of time-based personalization at the top. Good afternoon, Garrett, right? It knows the afternoon, it knows your name, it knows where you are, it knows what you've recently ordered. Again, hierarchy of information, deliver the most valuable and important information to your user right up front. So even on this home screen here on the far left, you're seeing recent order. Do it again, order again, make it quick. It's one button for the user. They load the app, they press one button, and they've got their coffee. The idea of a beautiful imagery, the idea of customizing drinks, a cart that is editable, items that are editable. This kind of custom app from the ground up, it isn't as expensive as perhaps you'd think. Order of magnitude, if you were to build something custom from the ground up, again, this is a fully custom solution, we're likely talking somewhere in the realm of 6 months and $300,000 to $500,000 to create an app like this. And that's a lot. And again, this is the full custom path. The other path that we just talked about, the hybrid path of building on top of an existing loyalty provider, is a far less expensive path, right? Could you do this for order of magnitude 3 months and 150 to 300K? Absolutely, absolutely possible to do this off-the-shelf to hybrid transition in that kind of rough price range and timeline. So those are a couple of case studies. The one last one I'll cover very quickly is Magic Money. Now, Magic Money is a bit of a different provider. They are sort of a non-traditional restaurant and food provider because they own and operate the food and concessions and games at fairs, carnivals, rodeos, music festivals, right? They bring in all their stuff, they set up shop, and they deliver the food and games, et cetera, to the customers at those different types of venues. So their needs were slightly different. And in this particular case, because they were a different type of operator, they needed a slightly different solution. So we also built this one, for instance, custom from the ground up. There's no loyalty provider that is the basis of this. It is purely a Magic Money owned set of software. But the functionality in this case is very similar. There needs to be rewards, there needs to be personalization, and you need to essentially, for us, we need to meet Magic Money where they're at. Figure out what do they need based on where they are in their evolution, and ensure we're building them something that fits for them. Not too big, not too small. It matches where you are in your business evolution. So those are a handful of examples of real life examples, things that we've done and sort of why we did it for those particular customers. So with that, we'll turn it to Q&A. I think we've got a few questions here in the Q&A section of Zoom. Let's see. Can you read that one, Ash?
Yeah, so the first question that came in, I agree with everything that's been presented. I work for a regional restaurant chain with an order/loyalty app, but the Starbucks app is still the only app I use for restaurant ordering. How is a 50-location regional restaurant chain supposed to have a Starbucks level app when they have over 30,000 locations and thus a lot more money? Fair question. So for context, let's all, put it out in the open. Starbucks at this point has spent, probably got millions, if not $1 billion on their tech, right? They've got that funding, they've got that budget, understandable. The hybrid approach that Zack just mentioned is the best answer to that question, because what you're doing is right now you have an app that's been offered to you by your loyalty service provider, probably minimal customization, but it obviously gets the job done, right? It would be the bicycle. And when we showed those 3 different paths when it comes to a mobile app's evolution in the food and drink category. But that hybrid path would be the answer to your question. You'd be able to then build on top of the technology that's been provided to you by your loyalty service provider. Now, to be clear, we're talking about building a new app, right? Not taking your existing app and improving it. We're not talking about, we're talking about building a brand new app, just like we're doing for Kung Fu Tea. So with Kung Fu Tea, they have an app from their loyalty service provider that's in the App Store right now. We are helping them build something brand new, and it's on top of their loyalty service provider's technology. So we're integrating with their technology, and we're releasing a brand new app that will fully belong to Kung Fu Tea. So they're able to own the entire front end experience. What we mean by that is they're able to essentially customize how they want the app to look and feel, but they didn't want to spend a fortune creating their own loyalty rewards program. Why would they, right? That's going to cost so much money. So we're using their existing loyalty service providers' loyalty and rewards program, but we're now reformatting it and making it look different based off of what makes the most sense for Kung Fu Tea's business needs, their goals, and obviously what their customers are asking for. And then in Cirque's case, like Zack said, they wanted to go custom from the beginning, and Cirque doesn't have, a million different locations. They certainly don't have 30,000 different types of locations. So it's possible to provide a much better solution for your customers without spending Starbucks money. And that's really the reason that we wanted to host this webinar, to make sure everyone understood that. And that's exactly what we do. We custom build digital products for our customers depending on what they need. So in Cirque's case, they also needed a kitchen management system, and we helped to build that out for them entirely from scratch. I'm not sure what your restaurant is, but you might just need a mobile app that does a better job than your current mobile app. And that's what we would be able to help you do. Build that on top of your existing loyalty service provider's technology. Zack, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, the only thing I'd add to that is yes, Starbucks has an incredible head start, and let's just put a number to it. Let's just say they even put $100 million into their app over the last decade plus that it's been in the market. It could be that much. The thing about that is there's the catch-up effect. We can learn a lot from what they've done really, really well. We can learn from the best in breed apps like Starbucks, but there are other examples out there in the market, and they figured out a lot of it for us, right? So we don't have to do all of the deep insight research with consumers to figure out what do consumers want. We saw the loyalty numbers for Starbucks. That works for them. So we know there's a formula there that's repeatable. And a lot of the money that has gone into building that Starbucks app, let's again call it $100 million, has been to figure out the nitty gritty of that. What exactly those users want and need and what works, and lots of testing. Well, the benefit for you guys is that you can see it. It's already live, it's public. We know what they're doing, we know how they do it. And so the ability to replicate that is a absolutely minuscule fraction of the $100 million that they've spent to improve and get that app to where it is today. So I think that's something to think about. Is it's not just that they spent $100 million on technology with a capital T. They've spent $100 million on figuring out what this app should do, and we get the benefit of just building on top of all those great learnings. Actually, I see we have another question here.
Yeah, so let's see here. With an oversaturation of restaurant apps on the user's home screen, what are some strategies to increase visibility, usage, and retention beyond driving use through the loyalty program? Yeah, sure. Zach, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. The idea of oversaturation, there was some stats that I was reading recently about how users actually are using the custom app of the restaurant more frequently than they're using the Uber Eats or the Seamless or the DoorDashes of the world. And the point being, I think there's actually a resilience or a tolerance, shall we say, for the idea of downloading a custom built app for a specific purpose to serve that particular restaurant need. You know, I'm not ashamed to admit that Burger King is one of my favorite restaurants. And so, you know, when I'm going to go and order a Whopper, am I going to go to the Seamless app where I know I'm not going to quite get the customization, I'm not going to get the deals, I'm not going to get my points that I want through the Seamless app, although I could order Burger King through Seamless. I'm going to go to their native app because it gives me some of that personalization. It knows me, it knows when I'm ordering. It offers me up a Whopper on Friday. I had one about an hour and a half ago. It's just the way it works. The idea of giving people some benefits other than just loyalty. It could be promotions. It could be just a better user experience. It could be more customization of your menu. Those are the types of things that you're not going to get, that your users are not going to get through a Seamless or another provider like that they want. And they're only going to get that through a native custom app that you own and manage. Anything else you'd add to that, Ash?
No, I mean, for what it's worth, I also love Burger King's Whoppers.
Can't beat it. Can't beat it.
And then we had Brandon mention essentially, is it an option to sort of offer two different brands and have the user pick the location? Yes. This is actually, it's interesting you say that. That's what we're doing for Kung Fu Tea. So with Kung Fu Tea, it's two different brands. It's Kung Fu Tea and it's TKK Fried Chicken. And the user's easily able to tell where their order is getting sent. They're easily able to essentially filter out which location they want the order to go to. And that selection process can really take place wherever you want in the user's experience, right? If you want it to happen as soon as they open the app, they can select there. If you want it to happen when they begin ordering their items, begin their order actually, and just sort of choose which location the order should go to, it can happen there as well. It really depends on just how distinct you want the separation to be between those two different brands. So to answer your question, Brandon, that's 100% possible. And obviously, you know, the integration to your loyalty service provider would be a key in that as well. So yeah, we can definitely do that as well. I'll reach out to you after the webinar and we can speak about that in more detail. Does anyone have any other questions they wanted to run by us? If anyone wanted to use the raise hand function on Zoom, we can, you know, that works as well. We can essentially turn on the audio for panel, the attendees as well. So if you didn't want to type out your question, feel free to use the raise your hand function on Zoom.
I think that is it for today, everybody. Thanks so much for the time. We will send along a recording of this presentation via email. So you can send it along to whoever you'd like. It'll also end up on our website at some point if you want to look at it there. I appreciate your time. Hopefully we got to deliver some insights or some new thinking, some ways to think about apps generally, how to think about that concept of a hybrid app. It's not just off the shelf or full custom. There is something in between that is much more affordable and gets you along the path to your growth in a way that matches where you are in your evolution. So thanks for your time. Have a great weekend.